And that's another thing we were talking about recently was, textbook, there's only so much you can learn in the textbook. Like, for example, my teacher in high school when I did automotive, which was my major project, I basically rebuilt a motorbike. And so we were in the garage, he was like doing stuff, and he'd been in it, he'd been doing this for like 20, 30 years, and then he became a teacher to do it. And so he was great. He'd come over, he'd never worked on a motorbike before, but an engine's an engine, and he just knew what to do. And he's like, yeah, I've done motorbike, but it's the principles are the same.
Yeah.
And he was telling me about how all the new teachers that are coming underneath him, they never have done this. They just went to uni and they learned to the book.
Right.
They haven't actually got in.
Right.
And cars is a great example, especially this was a 1983 bike. Like
Yeah.
you can't, the amount of things that go wrong is unbelievable. The amount of nuts that won't come off, the amount of things that go wrong that you can't learn in a textbook, you can't learn from written work, and you have to learn by actually doing.
Yeah.
And the same as in entrepreneurship or anything really.
Anything.
Yeah.
I mean, you can read manuals of how to swim.
Yeah.
It doesn't make you a good swimmer
Yeah.
or a swimmer in general. But it's astounding how many people start an Instagram account today and call themselves an influencer or an entrepreneur with no business. But it's time.
That's the world we're in.
Yeah.
But it's come to a point where like putting entrepreneur in your bio is like almost like, oh, shut up. So you're one of those guys.
Yeah.
Even though like you have a big, audio marketing, so you've got a team and everything. You are a literal entrepreneur. Same with me. I've got an established company. I've got it's all. If you search in the Australian, thing, my company name is there. It's everything. Like I'm a technical entrepreneur, but I'm still ashamed to kind of put it in my bio because it's become this kind of cringy thing of like, oh, you're a self-help. You're always doing this stuff. You're an Instagram guru. You're a Facebook guru, or you're a guru, or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And I think it's fascinating.
So that is a good point when it comes to being the imposter, right? So sometimes we let other people in the market make us feel like imposters, and I think that's important to pay attention to, because if who you are really as a person is a coach, and if you coach people and that's what you do and that's what your genius is and that's how you get people results and all that kind of jazz, have no shame in calling yourself a coach. Or calling yourself an entrepreneur, or calling yourself, and if you truly believe that you're an entrepreneur, be the entrepreneur. But if you have that voice saying, dude, are you really? Pay attention, because that voice is probably coming from a place of where you have to pay attention. Every voice you got to pay attention to.
Yeah 100%. And it's good stuff. I think, as I mentioned before we wrap up, I like to ask this kind of one question. It's a hard question, but what would your one piece of advice be for the younger generation coming out of high school, the world of social media, the world of entrepreneurship that they're kind of entering, even in uni high school? What would you advise for them?
The most important thing is to be yourself, and what I mean by that is that you're still learning yourself, so you have to say what you feel so someone can challenge you on that, so you can refine what you really feel about certain topics. And it doesn't matter what age you are at, but especially if you're young, because coming from a place of I know it all is the quickest way for someone not to give you advice and you not to take on any advice, especially.
It's also, same with you. I meet people and they're 20, 30 years older than me, and they'll come to an event where they're one of the head speakers, but I'll sit down and I'll watch and learn from all the other speakers.
Always.
It's like all these people, so I'm going, okay, this is what these guys are doing. They're still learning. I'm 21. Why would I not be learning?
Yeah.
And because sometimes I've had that thing, it's like, I've been doing marketing for 2 years. Let's see what this guy has to say. But now I go in with the mindset like, okay, what can I learn? What can I learn from him?
Yeah.
And often they'll just simplify it. Like the other day I was at an event and I was like, what's going to teach me about marketing in 30 minutes? I don't already know. But he simplified it so much. I was like, oh, it's actually nice to see it.
Yeah.
Just like that.
Yeah.
And and I think, as you say, you can remove yourself from being cocky, and you're always learning.
Yeah, 100%. And like an addendum to that is something that Paul Dunn said to me actually when in 2014 when I was launching We Are Podcast for the first time, and I had never put on a 2-person event, leave alone 300-person event that it landed up becoming. The first podcast conference in the Southern Hemisphere, really. The imposter monster was alive and well and loud, and especially in that time. But I did not run away from that fact that I had never run an event. But I was freaking out about it, and that voice was really loud. And Paul Dunn said to me, well, forget about what you think the success is going to look like. What kind of a person would Ronsley become if he just attempted that goal?
And how would you feel if you didn't do it? Would you be like, you know?
And it's really hard for anyone to give anyone else advice because you don't know their circumstances.
Exactly.
You know, and their circumstances are super important. So, being who you are is probably key. And then, imagine what it would be like that if you attempted a certain goal. What kind of person would you become if you just attempted it? Forget if you achieved it. Like, it doesn't matter if you achieved it. Like, it doesn't matter if I run the half marathon. What kind of person would I become if I just attempted to run the half marathon?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that's what I would reckon.
Yeah, awesome. And just want to touch on one more thing before you mentioned this age thing, which we were talking about earlier. Like, it doesn't matter what age you are.
Yeah.
I think that can often be a part of the imposter mantra for younger people. It's like, oh, I'm 22. I can't get a job here. I can't work for this person. You probably actually can. If you reach out to them and you say, hey, I want to come work with you for free and stuff, it blows my mind.
It's not even free. It's not even, I mean, it's not even about the free.
I want to learn from you.
It is like if you approach someone with the attitude of, I'm here to learn.
Exactly.
Oh my God, you know, the amount of opportunities that will open up for you is going to be off the chain.
Yeah.
Yeah.